Hello all, Jeff here with a new video. Today I'm going to compare my brand new Logitech G923 with its older siblings, the G29 and the G920. Now, for qualifying for the Logitech McLaren G challenge, Logitech gave me this brand new Logitech G923 to keep, which is great. It means I've got 3 wheels, but you know what? Logitech are absolute legends to give me this brand new wheel, and I may as well just compare all 3 of them and see what I think. So let's start off with the pedals. The pedals on the new wheels and the old wheels are pretty much exactly the same. Same base, same pedal design, same feel, especially the throttle and the clutch. Pretty much the same we've had since the G25 and G27. However, the G29, G920 pedal, the brake pedal is very, very hard to press because it's got a rubber in there to stop you from really going 100%. And it does make it a problem for those who are starting out in sim racing using automatic transmission. When you get into reverse, it's very hard to hold that brake to get it reversing. The new pedals have got a spring, so you can pretty much press it all the way down. Like, it's such a strange feeling at first. Luckily, you can use the new pedals on the old wheels and the old pedals on the new wheels, especially if you prefer the old pedals. But I do recommend that you do not use the G923 pedals on a G29 or G920. That's because whenever I get the G29 out when I'm on PlayStation, the wheel disconnects when the G923 pedals are connected. I do not have any issues whatsoever with the G29 when the old pedals are plugged in. I've reverted back to these pedals whenever I'm on PlayStation, and I've never had that issue since. So that's one thing to note. PC, not sure if that's an issue, but in the same sense, Craviator was using his G27 pedals on his G920, so I don't think it'll be an issue on PC, but for console, stick with the pedals that your wheel came with, basically. That's my advice. So, in regards with the wheels, the PlayStation and Xbox versions of the new wheel are both called the G923. I've got the Xbox one. The PlayStation one looks exactly the same, except these buttons replace those ones, and these 3 buttons replace that one. That's basically the only difference. In regards to compatibility, all of them are compatible on PC. The G920 and the Xbox G923 can run on Xbox One and Series X. The PlayStation G923 works on PS4 and PS5. However, the G29 is probably the most compatible of the lot, because this is compatible on PS3, PS4, and PS5. Not bad, eh? Now, in regards to the quality of the builds, they're all pretty much exactly the same. It's just that the paddles and the fascia of the G923 are all blacked out, which I really love the look of. Xbox users will be pleased to see that the G29's dial and plus and minus buttons are finally there for them to use. However, I feel the leather stitching on the G923 is not as good. As you can see, there is a bit of stitching to make it look nice, but I just think the feel of the wheel is nowhere near as good as it is on the old wheels. So let's grab this one for example. See how nice and smooth it is, and the stitching is very deep there. Same with the G920. That's also very, very deep as well. Whereas I just feel it was a little bit of cost cutting on the new wheel, but in the same sense, it doesn't have the plasticky feel of many of the Thrustmaster wheels. So yeah, there is that. Another thing to note is the G923, like these ones, the G25 and the G27, it is gear driven. So if you do already have a decent Thrustmaster or Fanatec wheel, I suggest sticking with those. But if you are just starting out on sim racing, any of these will be a great buy for you. It's just really the question of price. Do you want to pay $600 for this? Or do you want to go shopping on Facebook and find one of these for $250, $300? Or even if you just go on even if you're just going for PC sim racing, there is a G25 and G27 there for you. You may be able to save another $100. But nonetheless, great way to get started with sim racing with these wheels. Now, in regards to how with the wire management, it's pretty much the same as the old wheels. So you you got the USB cable in there. You got the force feedback here. Force feedback motor is exactly the same as the G29 and G920. I've checked this; it's the same part number, and there's a point for the pedals as well. Also, like the old wheels, there is a connector for the gear shifter. So that driving force shifter that you were able to use on the G29, G920, that's compatible with the new wheel as well, which is a huge plus. And I've got no doubt that the G25 and G27 shifters will work on this, but on Xbox or PlayStation, obviously the buttons on the shifter itself wouldn't work. But at least you've got that choice, which is awesome. Alright, let's see how these wheels compare. We'll go on ACC and, see what the force feedback is like on all three wheels. So in regards to the settings I'm using here, I'm using the exact same settings I use on ACC for PS4. So I've just basically transferred those settings here on PC. What I found was the G29 and G920 felt pretty much exactly the same, in the sense that, you don't really feel that much in the force feedback unless you ride the curves or smash the sausage curb or just in general lose control of the car. Like in the past, I felt that the G920 had a little bit more force feedback than the G29. Maybe that's because of wear and tear, because generally I would use the G29 a lot more, mainly because it's got all those extra buttons that you're gonna need to map buttons on sims like ACC, and if I had iRacing as well. So there is that. And maybe the G920 does have a little extra force feedback because there's less buttons. I'm only speculating, of course. But both, in this test I did right here, they felt pretty much exactly the same, which I was actually quite surprised about. Like when I play Race Room, you definitely feel a lot more force feedback, that's for sure. Now, one little thing that the G923 has that's brand new is a little something called True Force, which is a new force feedback system. However, it is only available to use on ACC, iRacing, GT Sport, and for some reason, Grid. I do have ACC on PC. I'll try and get it running so we can really see how much of a difference True Force is. Well, you can tell that True Force is coming into play because you are feeling vibrations in your wheel all the time, not just when you're on the curbs, not just when you lose control. And when you do go on the curbs, you do get the really strong vibration, but it's not like the earthquake you feel in the older gen wheels, where it feels like you've got nothing, and all of a sudden it feels like the whole wheel's just gonna come out of your hands. So the True Force definitely works here. Now, when I connect G923 to Race Room, yes, that does not have True Force, but I feel Race Room's one of those sims that doesn't need it because its force feedback is already strong there. In saying that, True Force could probably fix the issue on Race Room where, say you take your hands off the wheels ever so slightly on a straight and it just wants to veer left or right for no reason. So maybe True Force could fix that. And another thing I noticed was non-True Force games, the rev lights on the G923 don't work at all, which is very weird because the rev lights on the G29 always work. So regardless of what sim you're playing. So that was a bit weird for me, but yeah, there you go. But another thing is, like, I remember firing up Project Cars 2 on Xbox with the G923, and the game didn't even know what a G923 was. It just thought it was just some cheapo horror wheel, and all of a sudden you could barely even map any of the buttons. Even the left and right stick buttons you couldn't even map. And the new buttons, like the dial and all that, they didn't work either. So there is that, and there's a lot of PC games, especially Project Cars 2, where you have to set the G923 as a G29 because it doesn't detect it. So there's that compatibility issue where you have to set it up as something else just to make it work, which is very frustrating. But in the same sense, I do hope True Force is enabled with more games in the future. I mean, it is enabled with GT Sport, but I didn't get the PlayStation G923. Silly me, otherwise I would be trying GT Sport out. But in saying that, all three of these Logitech wheels, they are a really good buy if you want to get started for sim racing. I mean, if you're just a casual that wants to go on console, G29 and G920 are definitely for you to get. If you do want that little bit more immersion, but don't want to break the bank, well, definitely the G923 is a very good option, and it's got the reliability that the Logitech wheels have always been known for. Now, I've heard stories that the Thrustmasters, they don't really have as reliable, and especially the really loud fans as well. But then again, what can you do? But I do highly recommend a Logitech wheel to start out on sim racing. So many iRacing pros do start out on Logitech wheels and manage to break world records with them. So, they're a really good choice, and I do recommend them. Look, I will be upgrading to something else in the future, but for now, this will do the job and even more so. So I'm really happy with that. So there you have it. That's my opinions on all three wheels. If you like the video, smash the thumbs up button. Leave a comment, let me know what you think, and if you want to see more of my content, maybe consider subscribing and tapping the notification icon. Anyway, this is Jeff here, and happy racing. Cheers, and goodbye.